All right, Laura Stiles, Ebro, everyone. This is very, very exciting. It's been a long time coming for this city and for everyone really to get back to some sense of normalcy. And one of the things I've been thinking about again is, when am I going to get to attend a WWE event as a fan? Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful going and working the pay-per-views and being in the Thunderdome, but I'm by myself. There's no WWE Universe is there. And that is all going to change September 10th, Madison Square Garden. SmackDown is at the Garden, full capacity audience. And here to welcome in the big news is the star of the show, the head of the table, Roman Reigns. Roman, thank you for joining us, man.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
So I got to ask you, I mean, the obvious, easy question, how exciting is it for you to just get to be able to do what you've been doing in front of a live crowd again, in this case, at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden?
It's cool. It's almost like in a weird way, like an off season, and you've been working on your stuff, you know what I mean? Working on your skills, sharpening all your tools. And it's nice because obviously with the Thunderdome and, content being king, we've been able to display some of these tools, but to be able to put it in front of a live audience, to be able to use that interaction that's made, our product, the WWE, our interaction between, performer and audience, such a special, relationship and such a special atmosphere, to be able to put all these new tools and all these different skill sets to the test is going to be exciting for me.
So can you promise the WWE Universe of New York, who's listening right now, and by the way, tickets go on sale tomorrow at 10 a.m., can you guarantee them that come September 10th, you will not only be head of the table, but also still be our Universal Champion?
Well, I'll just say this: if I'm not, I ain't gonna be there. So, me and the Universal Championship, the key to the kingdom, it goes hand in hand right now. There is no difference. We're attached at the hip at this point. So, if for some crazy reason, some, uneventful scenario happens to where I'm not the Universal Champion, you probably aren't going to see me up there at MSG on September 10th. So, with that being said, it's all guaranteed that I will remain the Universal Champion. I will remain the head of the table, the tribal chief, the best of the best. Where's Paul Heyman to just keep going? It's too much. It's too much to say at this point.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the tickets are on sale tomorrow. I know your kids. Everyone's been desperate to get back after it. I know I have been as well. We're going to be giving away tickets down the line right here on Hot 97, but we just wanted to have Roman on so we could celebrate this tomorrow. The tickets go on sale for September 10th at Madison Square Garden. Now, Roman, I got a lot of things to dig into with you when it comes to the last year and change that you've had. And we're going to do that. What I'm going to do right now for the Cheap Heat audience is send over to Stat Guy Greg this room so he can join us, and he'll join in here. And the first thing I can't wait to do, listen, maybe you'll prove me wrong, but Stat Guy Greg and I have had an argument about the Thunderdome. He loves the Thunderdome so much for live TV, for week-to-week TV, that he would be good with that staying. And maybe I'm too close to it, Roman, but in my opinion, getting to be there just once a month and feel what it feels like, and don't get me wrong, getting to see everyone work, it's a beautiful thing. I enjoy watching it on Peacock, all of that. But I can't help but think that you guys are desperate to be able to do this in front of a live audience again.
Yeah, I mean, you have a pretty cool perspective. I've seen you within, TVL, the locker room for our production crew, through the backstage, the catering, all the way to doing your thing on the panel, And
by the way, thank you for the catering, because you are the head of the table. So every time I take a bite, I'm saying I appreciate you.
We out here filling bellies, man. That's what we do. Don't worry. I got 5 kids, so it's every day for me. I'm used to feeding people. But yeah, your perspective is neat because you kind of toe the line where you have that fan perspective as well. That's what kind of sucked you into the product and this world. But then you also, from a professional standpoint, help us tell our stories, help us, display the information that we're trying to get across, help us, transfer the message. Um, so it's hard, because as someone who was born in this, also a fan of it, um, and someone who's deeply tied into it, there's there's nothing that can ever replace that simultaneous response, that interaction with the fans. But then, the other side of it is, as someone who's been on the road for a long time,
Hmm.
you start to appreciate this once a week. We jump on the bus and we just head to Tampa for a few hours, and then I'm right back, in my bed. So there's never going to be any scenario that's going to replace that live response from our crowd. But at the same time, I think you have to find the silver lining in everything. And the Thunderdome, obviously being in quarantine and being in the middle of a pandemic, it's not fun, and a lot of people's lives have been affected, a lot of lives have been lost, so we're always thinking about them, and trying to pay our respect to them. But also that comes with the hard work that you put in every day to make this adjustment, to make the best out of these obstacles and adversities that are in our way, which I think is going to just make it even sweeter for when we do kind of get back to normal and we do open up the events and bring in that live crowd. So it's a little bit of both. I'm gonna stay in the middle, stay on the fence on this one because
Well, listen, like all of us, there, as weird as it was to adjust, once we got used to the working from home thing. Like, I went back to the studio today, and like, don't get me wrong, I miss seeing Ebro and Laura in person. But yeah, you get comfortable waking up and walking to the living room to go to work. So
yeah,
that
man.
perspective is certainly different. Oh, Stack Eye Greg, welcome aboard. This is Roman Reigns.
Oh my God. I mean, I don't even know. What do we call you? Do I address you as the tribal chief, sir?
All that's fine, all the above. Yeah, we got plenty of monikers, plenty of AKAs. So yeah.
So
Yeah,
listen,
I don't know if P made you aware, but I have great reverence for what you're doing right now and for what you've been doing over the past couple of years. I'm not new to the bandwagon. It's getting pretty full right now, but I just want you to know, like, when it was just a couple of us running around, I was there.
I don't know if it was only a couple, but I
yeah, come
appreciate
on.
They made it sound like that. They made it sound like
that.
that.
No,
That's what
no,
that loud minority wants you to think, but
right.
they don't travel
I
with
was
us. They're not on all the
early
tours.
arrival.
They're not international. They don't see how the complete global response is. I wish it was just a domestic situation, but man, this is WWE, and the Roman Reigns brand is global.
Now let's talk about this run, Roman. That I remember sitting there that day. We were finishing up the podcast. Actually, it was an odd Friday where we recorded, and all of a sudden I had the volume down, and I see Paul Heyman, and I see that camera pan over and see that you guys are together. And Roman, man, I'm curious to what you guys talked about beforehand, because if the goal was to just surprise people and have people go, "Oh my God," a moment, bro, that was one of the most exciting moments, an actual turn that makes people go, "Holy ish, this is happening." Where did the conversation begin? And was that the desired effect? Was just one of those rare moments where people can't believe what they're seeing?
Well, I think the rare moments and displaying new layers, and elevating the performance every single week. That's always going to be a part of a staple of what we're trying to do. But I think what's made us so special is the preparation, and that goes individually throughout our careers, Paul and I. Everything that's had to happen, and the journey that we've both been on to get to this point in our careers to kind of collide and make this thing happen. But I think it goes with the similar and the very parallel mindset of trying to be the very best every single week. And this is some stuff I've said to Jay and Jimmy on screen, but I mean, it's a shoot. It's for real. Is we're trying. This is the only way I want to be remembered, is being the hands down, head and shoulders better than everybody else on the show, everybody else in the world. They're all trying to catch up. I mean, at this point, I feel like within a marathon, we're lapping people because we put so much preparation, so much thought into the detail, the nuance, and trying to deliver the most sophisticated, not confusing, but very respectful stories as we can. But it was something when me and Paul knew we were going to get together. It was immediate, just starting to spitball and kind of just. We knew it was something that was going to have to be fleshed out like in real time, obviously week to week, and be put into the situation and know our barriers, know which walls we're going to have to go over, avoid, or just bust right through. But we were game planning everything, and I think that was the common denominator. Is that we just want to be special because we both, I mean, we're at points, he been, on an awesome run with Brock for what, like 10, 12 years, doing everything that they did. And then for myself, I mean, I already had 4 main events of WrestleMania, multiple championship, reigns and stuff like that. So there wasn't much that I hadn't already done in this industry. So I think for both of us, it was just really about developing that cherry on top, really, solidifying the legacy and cementing this Hall of Fame portion of our careers.
So I got to ask you this. When does art and life, I know it's hard to pinpoint when the blur happens, but I don't talk about on the podcast the things that I see and hear when I work the shows. I respect everything too much to blurt anything out, but I can say this without saying anything. There was a moment when at some pay-per-view recently, Paul was delivered information regarding you in front of me. And I didn't hear exactly what was said. I just heard Paul's reaction. And Paul went, he's not going to like this. He's not going to like this. And I popped so big because in that moment, I can't tell story and real life. Like Paul Heyman's really working with Roman Reigns all the time. And a message for you was being delivered to him. Did that relationship emerge over time where to some degree, the way we see it on TV is kind of the way things are when you're at work?
Well, I definitely think like the relationship has evolved. Even like being on the other side as like the opponent of Brock Lesnar, and still having that performance relationship with Paul, you build that equity and that like that common ground between each other, that familiarity between the two, to where we kind of know how each other operates. We get a sense for each other's personalities, the likes, the dislikes, the do's, the don'ts, that type of situation. So, but that's kind of a testament to Paul, is when he's working with you or for you for that matter. Well, excuse me, if he's working with you, then in his mindset, he's working for you. So everything he does is to cater to that performance, and he's been around performers pretty much his whole adult life, right? So like, he knows that he needs to do everything in his capability to make the performer comfortable in what they're doing. And so for me, ever since we started working together, and I think it really shows up. I'm able to wear the skin of my character so much more seamlessly, just to be in it completely. Submerged in it, in the atmosphere, and become him. And that goes back to the 24/7, 365 relationship that we have, where, I mean, I could receive a text from him right now, sitting here game planning what we want to do for Friday. You know what I mean? That's just something that he's always doing. He's always looking out, for me as a person and me as a performer as well, because they go hand in hand and they affect each other completely, 100%. So that's just a testament to Paul, his professionalism, and just how genuine he is when it comes to the people he's working with and his loved ones for that matter.
Yeah. So speaking about the seamless transition between who you are on screen and off screen, something you're doing right now that I absolutely love is what I call the Peloton Promos, which is just you on the bike, just giving your thoughts to the fans, sometimes to Jay, sometimes to Jimmy, to whoever it applies to. Like, where did that come from? Just the thought to just say, you know what, while I'm getting this workout in, I'm gonna address the people and give them the real. to get everybody ready for
You're talking
Friday.
about my cardio
Yeah.
videos. You lost me. I thought it was like just like something that happens in the Peloton world that like
Nah, if
y'all
you on
like
the bike,
Peloton trainers are just cutting promos on you and stuff and
nah.
just telling you how they really feel. uh, it, you know what I mean? It was just something. I think it's one of those situations, and you hear all like the really good ones. You hear them say that like once they find that thing, it's just themselves dialed up, right? But like once you connect that thoroughly with what you're doing, material comes easy. Like it becomes where it's like, man, I can just push out content. Like I just riff on something, and man, this is pretty dope. Let's see if it comes out right. And I'll just, if it's the day after, a lot of times those little promos happen the next morning when I'm kind of still digesting the performance and what I just did. Um, and I'll just have like this thing, like, man, yeah, maybe I can just do this, and also with that, like, it's something that I want to share with the fans, right? It's a piece of content, and it's a mindset, or just a brainstorming, lane of just me trying to let them know where I'm at on this day and in particular time. But at the same time, it helps kind of somewhat. Sometimes it doesn't always do it, but it gives like our creative and everybody around us an idea of, oh, where's Roman Reigns at going into, coming out of that Friday or out of that Sunday. And now we kind of have an idea of what's going to happen on Friday, the next Friday. So for me, it's an opportunity to continually connect with the fans and give them a piece of where the tribal chief is, so to speak, and then also a way to influence what I'm doing going forward.
I know we don't have a ton of time with you, and again, we're on Cheap Heat now, but we're talking about the return to the Garden, Madison Square Garden, September 10th for SmackDown. A few quick hitters I want to ask. Is this the most fun you've ever had in WWE, being the head of the table?
Oh, without question, yeah. I mean, like every week, and when you're in this position, it's a weekly battle, right? So like there is a little bit of stress that goes involved with the creative scenario and fighting for what you believe in, and really jockeying for your position of telling your story the way you want to tell it, because I mean it's a collaborative situation. So you have to be a team player, but man, it's fun. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's a different scenario, and a lot of different silver linings of this Thunderdome situation has kind of influenced it in different ways. But when I'm out there and I'm performing, when I go through the curtain, and Paul will tell you, I mean, there's goosebumps just all over me, all through my back and my arms and stuff when I'm going out there for a performance that I'm dialed in on. There's nothing better than that.
Would you consider ever, does it ever cross your mind? I know the time is certainly not now and nowhere near now, I'd imagine. Does the idea of another Shield run ever interest you?
No.
I love the straight answer. It just doesn't cross your mind.
Nah, I mean, a lot of respect for everything that we did now, but and a lot of that time was really pivotal for me to learn and gain the experience, be around other performers and see how their process is and how they attack things and how they think about things. But where I'm at now, it's a one-man show. I couldn't even like, I had the family dynamic with my cousins, but at the same time, I call the shots. I'm my thumb. It's my thumb that's down on this post. So yeah, I don't think I could share it anymore.
Do you think you and Seth could still pull off some big time magic on the biggest stage one day?
Together or against each other?
No, against each other.
Against each other, yeah.
I mean, Seth is a special performer, especially in ring. That like it can be a cold situation. You give us a crowd, you give us a ring, and we're gonna make something special happen. So you put us in a scenario like a WrestleMania, a SummerSlam, a big pay-per-view, no question. I mean, that chemistry, that strive for greatness between that ambition for greatness between the both of us. It'll always be there, so that's what's gonna always make it special. So yeah, that's it. That's easy. That's like insurance policy. When in doubt, throw me and him together, and it'll be off.
In case of emergency break.
Isn't it fair to say though?
Go ahead.
Isn't it fair to say though that's where you at with anybody? Like if they drop anybody in the ring with you, I feel like you're gonna get magic, no matter who it is, no matter how much the notice is.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel that way, and I have that confidence. And I feel like my character work is so layered now, and I've gotten to a point now where like my 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 storytelling as far as like physical conflict has come from so far within my background with football, just being a young man, you know what I mean, with whether it legitimately fighting my cousins to be in college fighting in a bar, you know what I mean? Like, don't
Right.
do that. I'm not condoning that. I'm not like promoting that. But you got to defend yourself if need be. But like, it's one of those situations where I have so many different like experience factors that kind of tap into my performance now that I know how to display these type of stories. So like, I can find a way to really brighten up a rivalry no matter who it is. But whenever your dance partner is really good, it makes it so seamless. It makes it such a, such a more unique, um, performance, I think. But I have no question, no doubts in my ability to raise people up, to make them step up.
What happens? We've heard there are rumors out there about us getting you versus John Cena at some point down the line. And if John Cena were to walk back into that locker room, do you feel at this point like the changing of the guard has officially happened, and where it is clear at this point that he is someone who will always be a part of the company but is visiting, and it is your house now? And how will that impact you in terms of working out, if you were to work with him, the way that you would work? Like, do you see yourself being in a different position in that relationship where the young pup is kind of now the big dog, no pun intended?
Um, so I think there's a couple of different like folds to this scenario because like even before like I forget which year it was. I know it was a No Mercy when me and John went the first time. I had already been in that position. You know, I mean, John had been kind of around periodically, jumping in kind of on interval stretches. But like I was still the main event. You know, if he jumped into a live event and to help out the show, he would go on before intermission, or he would find himself in a different
Mm.
position. I would close us out. You know what I mean? So it was still a situation where, but at the same time, like you said, I was much younger, and that's where a part of this process that we're in now, these new layers that I'm showcasing. It took every single, every day, every single week on the road, every single year, and all these manias to stack up to put me into this position to where I truly can tap in and maximize my potential, and take it even further than that. But at the same time, and this is this is just the way our business is, and that's what's beautiful about it, is the respect that we have for our history and the respect that we have for the superstars who pulled that wagon. And there's no question, you know what I mean? It would be a bold-faced lie if anyone ever said John Cena did not. He didn't tow the train for a long time, and we're gonna always have respect for that. Vince will always have great respect for that. Guys like Undertaker, that's why we have these legendary contracts to where we keep these guys. They paid their dues. They guided our business. They laid the foundation for us to continue this journey and continue the success that we have. So I think there was always going to be that scenario out of respect. When they come back, it's to only bring more eyes and to kind of lift the tide up, right? To make it a bigger event. But when you have someone like myself, and John was in the same position with Dwayne, this is, and hopefully one day I'll be in the same position coming back, and there'll be there'll be a new head guy, there'll be a new top dog. But that's what drives the business, and that's what makes us even greater is when our guys go out and find great success, and then they bring that limelight, they bring that shine back to what started them, back to their first love.
SUG, you got one more for Roman?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there being a potentially a new top guy that's gonna have you in the Cena spot right now and keep that cycle going. Who do you think it would be? Because even as you said that, I tried to think of like who would be the guy that would have you in that position, and I can't think of anybody. Who do you think is the one person on the roster that you really have to watch out for, that in maybe like 5 or 6 years they're gonna be taking your spot or like looking to take your spot, or is that person not there yet?
Great, great. You gotta follow your instincts, bro. You said it yourself. There ain't nobody. There ain't
There's
nobody, man.
nobody.
Like, and it's no like I'm like I could say my favorite number two, Drew. You know, he's my favorite number two. There's a bunch of number twos, threes, whatever you want to call it. You know, we can rank them. It really don't matter. They're under me. How far under? Who knows? Who really cares
That's
at
up
this
to
point?
them.
Yeah, I mean, how strong of a number two do you want to be? And at this point, my favorite is Drew McIntyre. So if in a perfect world, if there's an opportunity to pass the torch to him, he's the one guy I think that has captivated my attention in that manner. But at the same time, he ain't there. You know, and it's only because I'm still here, so solid within my foothold, my stronghold is so the flag is fully planted in. So I can't even think about it now. But I mean, in order for like John needed somebody to come in so he could move, on and try new things and take care of his body. I will eventually need that, but there's just nobody at this point.
Do you ever have Greg alluded to it earlier that there have been times when the internet, to be clear, okay, because I go to the
Yeah.
shows, the live shows, I see the reaction you've always gotten, but the internet had their feelings on you, as they often do on the guy that appears to have been anointed the guy. Now, I've always had an issue with this because I believe the crowd anointed you the guy, and then when the company agreed with the crowd was like, well, screw you. You don't tell us what to like. And that was kind of how I saw that play out. Do you ever have a chip on your shoulder about the lack of respect there? And you think back to the Royal Rumble moment in Philadelphia years ago. And these days, there's just no way to deny. Like, you'd have to just be an outright blind hater to deny the work that you're doing. Does that chip on your shoulder drive you at all? Or is it not something you ever think about?
You can't see it. I mean, yeah, it's huge. That's exactly what drives me, and that's the like. So with this run alone, what I showcased in Thunderdome alone, I could walk away. Like on top of everything I already did, and then you take in this last year of performances and everything that I've set out to do. I've done it or I'm currently in the middle of getting to that point of achievement. But that's the one thing we haven't showcased is that relationship with the audience, with the WWE universe, with the people who've made it a little bit harder than it probably should have had to be. But at the same time, through these hardships, through these struggles, through all the pressure, out comes a diamond, right? So like I wouldn't be the same if I didn't have these different, adversities to work through as far as a performer, and all these different, learning lessons and these growing pains I've gone through. But man, once we get to a point, that's what makes my character and what I'm doing so special is I've made a relationship between every single character within the company. And that goes with the guys who are around me, Paul, the Usos, all the way to my opponents, and the people who are trying to take my spot. But I have not showcased that relationship with a live crowd yet. I haven't been able. There was one little taste when I powerbombed Brian through the table at WrestleMania, and I just kind of, I went off a little bit. I did it after the man. Once I stacked those fools and pinned them, I went off on the crowd and them for trying to step up and and take what was mine. But at the same time, I haven't really been able to tell that story and the way it's affected me, the way it's transitioned my thought process, and calloused me, and then also driven me to become the man I am today.
Was there any reluctance to you becoming this guy? Like, because Roman, let's just lay it all out here. In the years before you, everyone wanted Cena's character to evolve. It never happened. Everyone waited, and a lot of people think it's one of the things that is kind of missing from his career is that we didn't get to see what he could have been like. And in your case, particularly when you got sick, and thank God you're better. Everyone's like, well, listen, everyone's going to root for this guy forever, no matter what. Now, there's no chance his character will evolve in a way where he's not the fan favorite because he's inherently beloved and he's had this trauma he had to deal with. Was there any reluctance about this? Did you have to be the one to drive it, or was everyone on board with this sort of change?
I think we were all on board. I mean, I think there were definitely reservations, and and thank God that, I'm completely healthy now. And, that was a scary time. It was,
Hmm.
an unexpected one, but at the same time, like life, goes in so many different, fashions. We got to roll with the punches and adjust, right? So, um, but it connected with so many people, and I was able to tell my story on a very worldwide, intimate level, which so many people were able to kind of find strength and hope in, and know that even when it appears to be like, man, really good for this guy, there are some things that happen. We all struggle with something, right? No matter if it's something with your health, all the way to something as common as paying your bills, whatever it may be. I think we all bond through a struggle. So there was like a little bit of, I was a bit hesitant because I didn't want to damage that relationship that I've created with my supporters and people who have tapped into my story and found like some measure of hope through the struggles that
Mhm.
I've been through. But at the same time, we're a performance. It's 2021. It's the we're in like the information era where it's very commonly known what we're doing here as performers and as a show who ultimately is trying to put smiles on faces. So at the end of the day, if I can provide that entertainment, still have a 100% connection and a relationship with our audience, and then also do my very best to drive our product to help our company put itself in a better position and ultimately, leave this place better than it found it, then I'm able to do everything that I wanted to. So with all that being said, it made sense.
Yeah, it would seem silly to not be able to do that while at the same time superstars are on social media all day, every day, displaying their
Yeah,
personalities. It just so we're so grateful that you're well.
Yeah.
It was a
thank you.
scare for everyone. You're in my experience with you, you're nothing but a great guy. And also, I'm grateful that we've gotten to have this moment. Have you Can you give us anyone? Is there anyone out there in the history of the business that you looked at it all when kind of figuring out exactly what this looks like? Because I got to tell you, I know it is you, but my favorite thing about the last year is the way you talk to people. It's like you're
Yeah.
you're trying to be a good guy. You want them to understand, but they can never understand. Where where was this just you? If I was to ask your wife, if she was like, well, honestly, when he's an a-hole, that's what he talks like all the time. Where did it come from?
No, just shut that promo down real quick. I think it's absolutely a part of me. But I think that's the beauty of performance, right? Is you can take the things that you either really like about you and like characterize them and put them on screen and use them as emotions and motivators to inspire what you're trying to do within your performance, or you take the things you don't like, you know what I mean, like you can take some things that you're trying to better, and I think, as far as Joe is concerned, I'm always trying to become a better person, right? Like I'm trying to really like dial it down and figure out exactly the man I want to be. I'm 36 years old now, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly the type of human that I want to be and display, and the legacy and the message that I want to leave behind when my time passes. So every single day we're working on something. We're working on some kind of progression to be a better man, a better husband, a better father, a better son, what have you, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so with those learning curves, things that I don't necessarily like, or things that I feel are powerful about my personality, or my interaction, my relationships, things I've learned like that, I'm able to use them, within my performance. So yeah, I mean, there's probably been some times I try to, I try to sway somebody or manipulate somebody. And that's what's cool about me and the twins is this is like it was over baseball cards back in the day, and like stupid things, you know what I mean, like little kid stuff. But like these dynamics that you see that we put on screen, we've been doing them for a very long time, for 30 years now. So that's why it comes so authentic for our audience, and that's why I think everybody's able to really tap into and connect to it, because it's not like it's not a performance the majority of the time when we're doing it. We just tap into some old stuff, old experiences, and try to use the reality of the performance and make it our make it make it that moment.
Go ahead.
So I have a question too. Growing up with the twins, have they ever tried to 2-on-1 you ever, like, they ever tried to jump you? Has anybody with situations? Because I would imagine, like, you guys are always so close in age, and, you know, I have cousins that I'm close with, and like the sibling bond, as close as you are as cousins, sometimes when push comes to shove, that sibling bond, you just find yourself in a situation where it's like, all right, I got to eat this one.
Okay, so no, they've never done that to me. Never in a physical like form, but they've done it emotionally and like you know, from like a true interaction standpoint. You know, like I've now become, you know, sometimes there, you know, if we're dealing with Jimmy, like I can work my way into number 2. Jay goes in at number 3, then like something happens. Now now I've been pushing, or their younger brother gets on, and I'm in the 4th position. Like it's one of those different. There's like a tier system, and like we're like a tournament seeds trying to jockey for position. But I've always been able to manipulate the relationships to where they never actually physically try to jump me. So not yet. We save that for on camera, but it's always been one of those things. I don't know if you have, like, I grew up with twins. I had 2 sets of twins. You know, I sons. That dynamic is completely different. Like they're like, you have brothers, right? Like, you know, and there's a bond, but there's a different level of connection and bonding between twins. And man, it's a different dynamic. And my whole life I wanted to be a twin. I wanted to have that type of relationship. But then once you get older and when you see the negatives and the struggle for identity, it really pulls you back, and you're like, well, man, I'm thankful for just being me. I'm thankful for being unique enough to be a one of one. But all these different lessons and dynamics and interactions and perspectives that we've had through our childhood all the way to adulthood, it's allowed us to really create this dynamic and display it, you know, in a performance aspect. So it's being twins is it's a different world, man. But those fools never jump me. They never will.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear.
All right, Dipperstein's not here, but he had one question for me to ask you, which is, since you are the head of the table, if forced to order for the table, what appetizer are you getting? I mean, literally at a restaurant.
What kind of restaurant? Is this just whatever I want?
That's a good question.
Yeah, take whatever you want. If you had your choice as head of the table to pick an appetizer for the table, what appetizer are you doing?
We're gonna do crispy rice, like the spicy tuna on top of the crispy rice.
Ooh!
Like in sushi. It's gotta be good though. This has to be like grade A. Like this sushi restaurant has to have wagyu and toro and like all the Japanese fish and stuff like that. But yeah, and then we'll do something like some Brussels sprouts, like some good crispy, like good flavored Brussels sprouts or something like that. Yeah, man.
Crispy rice and Brussels sprouts. That's the next T-shirt coming. Yo, Roman, I love getting to talk to people when they're having like a real moment at the top of their game, and you have been doing that for over a year. Madison Square Garden, September 10th. Tickets on sale on Friday, and of course, we got Money in the Bank coming up. We got SummerSlam coming up, and every Friday night on SmackDown. Appreciate you taking the time with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Roman.
Thank you for having me.
All right, man. See you around the bend.